welcome back to my channel, Wobbly Bobbird. And on today's video, I am going to be reviewing one story written by B.A. Bellec. Now, this story is it's written by, I suppose, what's classed as an indie author, because he's very new and he's writing out. Sorry, he's very new and he's just starting to write his stories, so I was given this book by him for free to review, and that's what I'm doing. So yeah, let's get into it, shall we? Now, as on my other reviews, they are non-spoilers, so you don't need to worry. There's no spoilers in this video at all. So if you are interested in reading his story, which I definitely think you should totally do, then you don't have to worry. But if you want to have an understanding of what it's about, or to see whether you might like it, then keep listening. So, someone's story is, at the core, it's a coming-of-age story. It's a story where a 17-year-old boy that comes from a broken family life, essentially, is had to move from the countryside to the city with his dad. His mum is out the picture. And it's basically, you get to see him, as I said before, it's a coming of age story. So you get to see him grow from where he starts off at the beginning of the story to towards the end. But it's much more than that. But the core concept of it, that's what it's about. You know, when you first start reading this book, I was very confused by what was going on. I didn't know what the plot was about, but I stuck to it because I had a feeling it was going to get good. And oh boy, did it get good. Now, if you want a book that talks about mental health representation in a really, really good, strong way, this is the book for you. Literally, like, just read this book. If you want mental health representation, this is the one. Now, throughout this story, as I said, it's a coming of age story. So you follow him as he starts a new high school, gets to meet new friends, he goes for therapy for anxiety issues. And along the way, there's a massive, towards, I'd say 3/4 of the way book, there's a massive plot twist, which obviously I'm not going to spoil. But it makes you look at the rest of the book, like previous to that, like the whole build-up, in a completely different way, and so much of it starts making sense. Now, as I said, this is a non-spoiler review, so I can't really get into it too much. But as a general introduction, I think I'm just going to leave it there, because that plot twist has a massive impact on him, and you get to see that. But one of the things I do like about this story is the ending. It's very strong and it's very good, and I do like that. Especially in regards to the plot twist, because a lot of the time, you know, these, especially with mental health, which does tie into the plot twist a little, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not gonna spoil it. But I will say mental health is a part. It's not one of those books where the plot twist is mental health, which to the point it's more derogatory towards showing mental health. This actually, it's more of a plot twist that says all the clues were always there, like the book was never hiding anything from you. But if you didn't pick up on that, that's like more on you. Like, I'm trying to say it in a way that's like very delicate, because I know these topics of mental health is a very delicate thing. It's a very sensitive thing. And I really love the way that B.A. Bellec writes it. He writes it in a way that's so sensitive, but it doesn't shy away from what mental health does to a person. But he also does it in a way that also shows the recovery aspect, in regards to that just because you have some form of mental health, yes, it will impact your life, but it doesn't always have to be some negative, especially with the way the media portrays mental health half the time. You know, there's always positive, there's always light at the end. And this is one of the books that show that. And I really, really, really appreciate that about this book, which is one of the reasons why I am completely recommending it to all of you. To talk briefly about things, that's what I'm going to do, because this was a read that I read last year. The main plot, as I said, ties really into the character development. It ties into mental health. I'm not going to say what mental health issues he has, except for the anxiety bit that you get told very early on at the beginning. But it's literally a story where you read someone face a load of challenges, he overcomes anxiety, among more things, and he finds himself at it. It's a true coming-of-age story in that sense. And for that reason, I gave character development a 5 out of 5, because it was brilliantly done. The plot, as I said before, it is more focused on character development. However, the plot in this story is still really, really good. It's really interesting too, because sometimes with coming of age stories, the plot can sometimes lack, but in this case, it didn't. And as I said, it was well put together. As I said at the beginning, though, the beginning part of the story might make you feel a bit lost, which can kind of put off a lot of readers, I feel. But I think you should definitely give it a chance and definitely stick with it. It's one of those books where it really pays off when you stick with it. I do think the beginning's a bit ambiguous, but it kind of makes full sense. The beginning does at the end, so it all comes together, which is really, really great. And I gave I gave plot development 4 out of 5. The world development was one of my issues with the story. It, for me, got 3 out of 5. I felt that the world as a whole was really, really beautifully built, especially when it came to the other characters and the main characters' main friends. I felt like a lot of their backstory was really, really interesting and very realistic. But I think one of the elements that I didn't enjoy about the story was that in regards to the school, I found that was a bit weird for me, because I just felt like it was trying to show that it was too modern instead of it just being modern. And there was one scene where, like, one of their teachers repeatedly just leaves the kids in the classroom. And I'm like, what are you doing? Any other teacher would get fired. Like, you're meant to supervise them. That's the whole point. So that bit I didn't quite enjoy, as you can probably tell. But thankfully, it's not largely spent in the school, so it's all good. Also, there's a lot of things about blonde roast as a coffee, and I really must try that one day. It really got me intrigued to try it. The language in this story is 5 out of 5. It's beautiful. I really love the way it was written, and I love the way that the characters are, like, you can tell that they're teenagers, but it doesn't quite, like, it isn't through the use of slang, which I feel like some authors just fall into, because not every teenager uses slang, or at least not a lot of it, right? Because a lot of slang is more based on where you live and the language that's used in a particular, like, region, in like around a country, and that can differ, especially, for example, in the United Kingdom. The slang that you might hear in Birmingham would be completely different in, like, Essex or Leeds, for example, right? It changes, and I think that's the same with any country. So I really, really appreciate that the language in this story did not use a lot of slang at all to try and show that they're teenagers. It just showed them through kind of like their basic knowledge, what they knew, how they talked to people, showed them as beings who were still growing, the stuff that they did, the fact that they went to school. And I think that's more important than just how they spoke. So I really liked the fact that the language was done in that way, and I gave it a 5 out of 5. And I felt the pacing was really well done too. It was very consistent, and that's like another strong point of this story. The pacing is really, really, really well done. I did feel like at the beginning it was a tad bit slow, but as soon as you go to the middle, it remained very consistent. And towards the end as well. I do wish we had a bit more at the end, just to really show a bit more of, like, I don't know, I think I just wanted more at the ending. And I think that's good, because I think when you get to a point when you're reading the story and you want more, you know that that's good. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good sign. It's a bad sign when you get to, like, towards the end and you're like, when will this book finish? That's a bad sign. That's when you know that the author's done bad. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I gave the pacing 4/5. Now, I gave this story originally, well, it still is 21 out of 25. The problem is, and with my old scoring, with both scoring, it scores 84%. But with my old score, it was a 5-star read. With my new scoring, which is anything, I think, 90% or over, it of course makes it a 4 stars. So I'm going to go middle range, and I'm going to go 4.5. It's still a book that I look back on in 2020, and I'm really, really glad that I read it because of how it talks about mental health. And I think it's really important that we have more books like that. So if you want something that's based on mental health and you're willing to give a small author a go, give B.A. Bellec's books a go. Really, really, really good. They will not disappoint at all. Honestly, just give them a go. So yes, thank you for watching my video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye!